Hey everyone, it's Brew with the Video Ogre, and I'm here in this my review for Wolfman, the new film directed by Leigh Whannell, and starring Christopher Abbott and also Julia Garner in the lead roles. Now, Wolfman was one of my most anticipated films of 2025, and I got to see this movie through a previous screening, so thanks so much for that opportunity. Now, I gotta say, overall, this movie was a little bit disappointing in my personal opinion. I was a big fan of Leigh Whannell's previous film, The Invisible Man, which ironically was also a Universal creature feature revamp slash reboot. Now, Wolfman on its own is still a solid movie. It's very fun, it's very entertaining, and I give it a 7.5 out of 10. But in comparison to The Invisible Man, I would say that this movie is a little bit weaker. So that's my encapsulated review of this movie. Again, it's a 7.5 out of 10. And if you don't want to know any spoilers, stop this review now because I'm going to go into the proper review in 3, 2, and 1. So once Wolfman is in theaters, please do watch it whenever you can. Now, Leigh Whannell is synonymous with the horror movie genre. He's worked on some of the most iconic films in the last few decades when it comes to horror movies. And he's worked in the franchises such as the Saw franchise, where he was a writer, and also with the Insidious franchise, where he was a writer and also director of the third film. Now, obviously, he directed The Invisible Man, which was his previous film, and in my personal opinion, one of the best horror movies of the last decade or so, and has one of the best endings to a horror movie in the last decade or so as well. Now, he's taking on another classic Universal horror movie icon in Wolfman in this film, after revamping and rebooting one of the most iconic Universal creature features with The Invisible Man. Well, Invisible Man's not really a creature feature, but you know what I mean. It's one of their classic monster films. But yeah, Wolfman, in comparison to The Invisible Man, is a little bit weaker for one major reason. That major reason is the actual character design of the Wolfman. Now, what I really loved about The Invisible Man is the reasoning and the possibility as to why this person was invisible in the first place. Whereas in Wolfman, the transformation is really well done. I think that the actual becoming of the Wolfman was really cool. It was very The Fly-esque and very body horror, uncomfortable at certain points. Really well done. But the thing that I really was disappointed with was the actual character design. What I really love about werewolf films and just all the Wolfman installments that happened in the past is the actual look of the Wolfman. I really love the idea of this humanistic kind of anthropomorphic wolf that has human-like features but is still totally in like wolf-like fur and, with a face and so on and so forth. Whereas here, the Wolfman is more man-wolf. It's almost like The Fly, where Jeff Goldblum's character is slowly becoming a fly, but I think they did a better job of making a person that looked like a mixture between a fly, whereas here, it kind of doesn't really look like a wolf at all. I don't know, it looked more like a Sasquatch in my personal opinion. So I think that was my biggest gripe about the movie. And I was really disappointed because even though The Wolfman, which starred Benicio del Toro and Emily Blunt, even though that movie is not that great, I really liked the character design of the actual Wolfman in that film. And I thought it was one of the best looking werewolves that I've ever seen in a horror movie. So I was kind of comparing that to this, which is unfair, but in terms of the character design, I think that's the biggest negative about this whole movie. Now, in terms of the actual film itself, I think that Wolfman is a very solidly made film. Now, with The Invisible Man, there was this anxiety-inducing gradual tension that happened throughout its whole story. Now, this main character in that film was being thrown into a loop, was gaslit, and was going through this harrowing insanity kind of situation where they were being watched and stalked upon by this individual that was invisible. Whereas here, the Wolfman, you're dealing with a situation where the character is being hunted down by the Wolfman character that's outside of the cabin and the surrounding area of the cabin, and also having to deal with the situation of Christopher Abbott's character slowly transforming himself into a Wolfman himself. Now, what I really liked about this film, and what is a really strong point about creature features, is that the best ones usually have great performances that they need to rely on in order for you to buy into the character situation. And I think that both Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner were really excellent in their respective roles, and they really did a good job of making you believe that these characters are in peril and in this really bad situation. Right, so even though I wasn't really a big fan of the character design, I will say that Christopher Abbott did a really good job of playing this character. He does a really good job of gradually transforming this character from being this cheesy dad in the beginning of the movie to becoming the Wolfman character by the end. And it's a mark of a true performer that he's able to bring some sympathy and some humanism to this character, because easily you can write off a monster character and a creature feature as, animalistic, and they just have no humanity. But because of his facial expressions and his body language, he's able to bring some sympathy to this character by the end of the film. And even though he's not really saying much, it's just the mark of a true performer that he's able to do that with this character. So great job. Julia Garner is really great here too. I likened her character towards Alan Grant's character in Jurassic Park in terms of becoming a better parental figure because of a traumatic situation. You will know what I mean once you've seen this film. And also, I think that Leigh Whannell was kind of inspired by Jurassic Park, because there's a lot of sequences where they're looking through windows and kind of like breathing in and out very like slowly and kind of in a panicked mood, which kind of reminded me a lot of the sequences where the kids were being hunted down by the raptors, and the main characters were being hunted down by the raptors in the original Jurassic Park. So I was really liking that kind of homage to that film, if it were an homage, or maybe it was just an indirect like reference to that movie. Now, I really, really liked the callback to Saw. I don't want to give away what happens in that callback, but I love the fact that Leigh Whannell did that, because obviously he wrote the original film. So if you've seen the original Saw, and when you watch Wolfman, you'll know what I mean once that scene happens. And I thought that was a really good callback to the movie that helped him with his career and put him on the map when it comes to horror movies. But yeah, in terms of the performances, they were really great. I think that the direction was really well done. The writing was good. I wouldn't say it was amazing, but in comparison to The Invisible Man, again, I don't like comparing films, but I would say The Invisible Man had a little bit better of writing in comparison to this film. But yeah, the direction was solid, the acting was solid, the production design was really well done, because again, even though we're in the woods and this one small area for the most part of the film, I think that they did a really good job of playing with darkness and making you feel the situation that these characters were in. And also, really good casting in terms of Christopher Abbott's younger character in the film, because that kid looks exactly like Christopher Abbott if he were possibly at that age at the time. So really good casting there too. But yeah, overall, I would say that Wolfman is a very solidly made movie, even though I'm a little bit disappointed because I had really high expectations because of The Invisible Man. I still will say that this is a very good revamp / reboot of a classic Universal monster creature feature film. So yeah, Wolfman is a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good time. And once you've seen the film, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on Wolfman.